Welcome to a new Hogwarts Legacy video. Today we're going to talk about all of the teachers that we know, the teachers that we don't know, and also how classes will actually work in the game. I have a lot of videos on Hogwarts Legacy on the channel. Don't hesitate to check in the video description below if you want to see the full playlist of everything Hogwarts Legacy related. Now first let's talk about a couple of teachers that we know a lot about. One of the most recent one, Aesop Sharp. He was a Slytherin, he's a potion master, he's gonna be a potion teacher. He was an Auror and had an injury, and that's why we can see him leaping. And yeah, definitely has some interesting similarity with Snape. But Chandler, the community manager, said that while indeed he has some similarity, he also has some very clear differences. Which I think there's something so far they've done really well with all of the teachers, where I feel like we can relate to them, we can know them. They have some similarities to the canon teachers, you know, the teachers that Harry Potter had himself, but at the same time they also bring their own differences, their own personalities. So I'm really excited to see more of that. The grumpy and keenly astute Professor Sharp enjoyed a lengthy and successful career as an Auror until an injury forced him from the field. Not wanting to push parchment around the desk at the Ministry, Sharp decided his time would be better spent sharing his extensive experience involving battle-worthy throat and elixir with the students at Hogwarts. Not easily impressed and wholly unwilling to suffer fools, he takes genuine pride in students who excel in his class despite his challenging curriculum. If you're wondering, by the way, this is from the Hogwarts Legacy Instagram page. They do share quite regularly news on Instagram and not just, on YouTube. And as I said, some similarities with Snape's. He's a Slytherin, as I said at the beginning. He's not going to suffer fools. He has a challenging curriculum, but at the same time, I think he's definitely going to bring a lot of horror experience. I think he's going to probably share that with us, maybe as part of the full story or maybe in other quests. And then we have Mirabelle Garlick. She's going to be a herbology teacher and she's from Hufflepuff. She grew up in a household full of muggles and didn't really feel at home until she was a student at Hogwarts. In fact, she will tell you that it was the famed school of witchcraft and wizardry she finally blossomed herself and discovered her extraordinary affinity for magical plants. Her sunny demeanor and flowery language charm colleagues and students alike, prompting some students to worry she may one day leave them for another greenhouse. But Mirabelle Garlick will never leave her students, so even if the right witch were to come along, she'll simply have to love Hogwarts as much as Mirabelle does. Then we move to Abraham Ronan, another Slytherin teacher, but this time for charms. I love his attitude. You can really see again the similarities with canon. Jovial and light-hearted with a perpetual twinkle in his eyes, Professor Ronan considers his students' friendship and extracurricular activities to be just as important as the subject of charm himself. I think we're gonna have fun in this class. In response to having been tutored by a rather austere father before and during his year at Hogwarts, he developed a passion for games of all forms, particularly gobstones. Even if, remember, we know that we won't be able to play it really in the game, he allegedly met his wife an especially lively gobstone tournament. To the delight of most of his students, his unorthodox teaching style often incorporates gameplay. I like that, and I think it also works really well for an actual game, right? For the game of Hogwarts Legacy. And then the fourth teacher that we know a lot about, but I'm also going to talk about a few that we know some things but not everything. This is Dina Edcat. She's actually a Ravenclaw and she's going to teach defense against the dark arts. She reminds me a lot of Alastor Moody, but instead of being an Auror, she was an unspeakable. The stern but likable Professor Edcat takes her teaching responsibilities quite seriously. After a successful career with the Ministry of Magic, during which she was rumored to have spent time in the Department of Mysteries, which is where the Unspeakables work, she retires to become Hogwarts Defense against the Dark Arts Professor. Though she is happy to be at Hogwarts, some believe her hands-on teaching methods satiate an innate desire for action. So once again, I think this means it's gonna be pretty hands-on, having that works really well for the game once again. But maybe what you've realized is that so far no Gryffindor teacher. It could be potentially the Transfiguration teacher. It could actually be the professor that is a Weasley, because we know that all Weasley, tend to be in Gryffindor, right? And that professor was teased on early on a lot, but we don't actually have confirmation, we don't know. So we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. At least we don't know when I'm making this video. There is also Professor Fig, right? That we've seen a couple of times, but we don't really know everything about. Who do you think Fig will be? Which which house and which magic class? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And talking about classes, let's talk a bit more about how the classes are going to work. Basically, what we know so far is that there will be mandatory classes at targeted points of the story. It's not like you have every real day, outside of the game or even in-game days, every day you have to go to classes. It's a lot more like each chapter of the story, you will get a few mandatory classes, which will likely unlock for you key spells that are really required to move the story forward, right? And also maybe better understanding the background of the story, the lore, all those type of things. So once again, it's not as if you have to play the game every single day and have to, go to classes all the time and be bored in a sense. I think that's probably the risk that would have happened in this case. It's a lot more, classes as part of the story. But on top of that, we also know that you'll be able to do some quests with the professors. We don't know if it's all professors or only some, but I would definitely wager that at least the 4 professors I talked about before, we will have some quests with them. That will probably be sort of optional quests. If you're thinking about Mirabel, maybe it's different types of plants and flowers from the world. Maybe with Abraham, we have to play different types of game and win. And I'll wager all of this will of course give us some experience to level up, but also maybe unlock some new spells that are not mandatory for the stories, but maybe will help you. What else do you think we could gain with those quests? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I think so far they've really shared a lot of great details about all of those teachers that are very exciting. Once again, I think they've really nailed it in terms of making them similar enough to the teachers that we know so that we can relate to them easily, but at the same time also introduce some differences, introduce some new things that will make them different and interesting in their own ways. If you want to learn more about Hogwarts Legacy, once again, I have a lot of videos on the channel about it. Don't hesitate to check in the video description below or to see the playlist that's appearing now on the screen. Don't hesitate to smash the like button. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you next time.